Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we are looking for the opportunities in which we can utilize the correlational aspect of the trading analysis to figure out the profitable trading opportunities. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the Euro USD chart with each candle pair defined at 5 minutes. And along with that, we have these SMA 12 and SMA 24 in place to get us the average price prevalent over last 1 hour and 2 hours respectively. We have this Donchian channel 24 and 48 in place for figuring out the trading range of the underlying instrument for last 2 hours and 4 hours respectively. So we have the average price as well as the range to gauge the volatility and the underlying momentum. If we consider the Euro USD charting pattern for today's session, earlier in the day it started the day closer to 1.06, but it couldn't really hold on to those levels, and we saw this decline of around 30-35 pips on the lower side, where it went on to make a low just slightly above 1.058, and from there on it changed course, and particularly in the European trading hours it went on to rise almost 40 pips, and after this stabilization phase, consolidation phase, we are seeing a further move on the higher side. So the immediate momentum is favorable for the buy trades in the Euro USD. But if we have to look at the trading opportunities, we always have to figure out the relative strength and the weaknesses of these major currencies trading against the dollar, so that we get involved with the best possible combination of the momentum and the strength of that momentum. So for Euro USD, the momentum is strongly on the bullish side in today's trading session. Unless we see a fresh break below 1.06, I would continue to be bullish on the Euro USD from short to medium term perspective. In yesterday's session also we saw the gains from the lower levels, and those gains were sustained, and after due consolidation we are seeing a fresh leg on the higher side, and this momentum I think is likely to take the Euro USD towards 1.07 in next couple of days. That possibility is quite strong, as we are looking at a possible reversal. This downward trend is seemingly ended, and now here we have this strong possibility of a further rise in euro and also other major non-USD currencies trading against the US dollar. So we are expecting the US dollar to remain on the softer side for next day or two, and in that case we can keep looking for the opportunities where we expect these currencies like euro, GBP, and other major currencies to gain against the US dollar. So here we have this stabilization factor in place, and the Euro USD is holding well in today's trading session. So the immediate price formation is suggestive of the continuation of this bullish momentum, and for that all we have to do is watch out the Euro USD's further price moves, and if it doesn't really dip much below this immediate swing low and holds these levels, then we can expect a move beyond 1.064 in today's session itself, or a consolidation in this range, in this narrow range, with this bias remaining on the upside. So the possibility of a further move on the higher side is quite strong, and if we see it holding around these levels, our conviction will be strengthened further. Now, if we have to look at the other major currencies and see which one is strong and which one is weak, we will have to consider all the major currencies trading against the dollar, including the AUD, NZD, GBP, CHF, CAD, JPY included. For AUD, the momentum has not been that strong, as is the case for the European currencies. Even in yesterday's session, we had seen these story where the Asia Pacific currencies were trading with these slight bias being weaker in comparison to the European peers. The European currencies have traded well and have gained substantially, both in terms of the magnitude of gains and also the timeline has been far shorter for the rise of the European currencies in comparison to the Asian currencies of AUD, NZD, and JPY. JPY has been bearish against the US dollar. So even if we have seen most of the other major currencies gain ground against the US dollar, that has not been the case for the JPY. JPY has continued to depreciate. Even in today's session, it is trading on the back foot with the USD JPY climbing up well beyond 136 levels. So the immediate outlook is not strong Asia Pacific currencies. And if we consider the AUD's momentum is also of consolidation with the slight bias looking bearish. It is not that strong on the bullish side. So for any trade to be taken in the AUD, I would still prefer to go short rather than going long. And for short selling trades, we have to consider its immediate momentum as well as the medium term outlook. So for that, let's increase the charting time frame. It's taking some time for the chart to load. So it seems we will have to wait a few more seconds. All right, we got it. So here for the AUD, we have seen the AUD struggling closer to these 0.6750 range, and even in today's session it hasn't been able to climb past this prior swing high formed in the yesterday's session, and we are seeing these large declining body, the large red candle being forming on the chart. So that is a ominous sign, and I would suggest avoiding any kind of long trade in AUD in today's session. We have much better momentum in GBP, and also the euro is looking much better in comparison to the AUD. So for today, the bias in AUD has to remain on the bearish side. So for any trade to be taken, it would be much better idea to keep looking for shortly selling opportunities if we see the dollar starting to gain ground against most of the major currencies. In that scenario, if we have further confirmation of the dollar strength, we can change our anticipation of the dollar weakness, continuing weakness, and we can then try to go for the trades like short selling AUD USD, or even USD JPY can be bought. So we have that kind of possibilities also. Now for the AUD, the immediate price where it can be convincingly declared bearish is going to be this immediate swing low. So as long as it is holding well above this 0.6704 range, we have to be cautious. It is not overtly bearish, and if we see a break below these levels, in that scenario the picture will change pretty much, and we can be then fairly confident of its further move on the lower side. But as long as this level holds, we will have to trade cautiously in the case of AUD USD. So that level has to be kept in mind. Now for the trades in the AUD, it is not giving us good opportunities right now. We will have to wait it out. We will have to see how things shape up, how it consolidates, and maybe after much more clarity, we can think about going for a new trade. But as of now, things are not that convincingly bearish either. And as I said, it is not having enough of momentum on the bullish side. So it is better to avoid taking trades in the AUD and keep looking for other opportunities where we have much more conviction in the price action. So let's turn our gaze to the other major currency, GBP, and let's see what's happening in case of GBP. For GBP, the momentum has been one of the best on the upside. It has gained substantially in yesterday's session. Even in today's session, the gains for the GBP were much solid in comparison to the other major currencies. So it has gone on to rise to beyond 1.21, and it has made these days high at 1.2133. So that's a quite a solid move in today's session, almost close to 1 percentage point from the day's low to the day's high. So the possibility of further move on the higher side can't be ruled out. But at the moment, it has seen this decline of almost 20-25 pips. So we will have to trade a bit cautiously here. But the outlook is quite strong for the GBP, and we can keep looking for the opportunities to go long while expecting it to remain strong in intraday as well as for next couple of days. So watch out for these price moves, immediate swing lows of around 1.208 to 1.209. If it is able to hold above these levels, we have the momentum which is still favorable for the bullish trades, and we can continue to expect the GBP USD to trade strong. And as I said, it is one of the most bullish currency against the US dollar. So this has to be the first preference for any buy trade to be taken while expecting the dollar to remain softer. We saw the timeline of the euro and also the magnitude of the move. The GBP is looking much better. So we will have first preference in GBP in comparison to the euro. Let's see what's the story for NZD. For NZD, it is trading in line with its Asia Pacific peer, the AUD. There is not much of a difference in the timeline of the making of this low and then the subsequent swing highs. And now here we are seeing correction from the higher side, almost around 15 pips from the higher side, which is also there in other major currencies trading against the dollar. So last couple of minutes, last half an hour, we have seen the strengthening of the US dollar, and that is happening across the board. So as the US session has started and is underway, we are seeing this renewed momentum, renewed strength developing in the US dollar. So we will have to take that into account and hold our horses and not go for a long trade immediately. Maybe after due consolidation, if these levels hold, we can think about initiating a new trade, new long trade in the GBP in particular. Now we will have to invert the scale and consider the currencies like USD CAD, USD CHF, and USD JPY. For the USD CAD, the momentum has been on the upside. If we see this immediate move after the release of economic data for the Canada, we have seen this depreciation of the CAD. So CAD is now trading on the bearish side. It is more in line with the AUD, NZD, and even JPY. So we will have to keep that in mind while making any trading decisions in the USD CAD. The dollar seemingly is on the offensive, and we will have to trade accordingly. But as it has only made this swing high, right now we will have to give it some more time for the consolidation, and if it is able to hold closer to these levels for next hour or two, we can then feel confident enough to initiate a new trade with the expectations of the further gains on the upside. But right now it is better to wait it out and see how things shape up moving forward. Let's consider USD USD is also seeing this turnaround from the lower levels. For USD the day's low was made at 0.9345. From there on, it has now climbed around 25-30 pips. So it is also seeing a sign that the dollar is now on the offensive. Dollar is starting to gain against most of the major currencies. So we have the opportunities developing for us, particularly in the USD CAD, which has already made these days high. So this is the one currency where we have confirmation of a possible reversal on these upside, whereas for other major currencies, the formation is still conducive for the prior trend where the dollar was on the defensive. So we have to now consider the USD JPY and USD CAD in particular for the trades in which we expect the dollar to strengthen further in the day and go on to make new highs. So that possibility can be exploited in USD JPY and USD CAD. Whereas if you expect the dollar strength to remain limited and if you are expecting the other major currencies to hold the ground and again go on to offensive later in the day, in that scenario GBP is going to be a better option, but right now it is also seeing this correction of around 30 pips, so we will have to give it more time before we can think about going for a new trade in the GBP. Now let's see what's the story for the equity indices. For the US equities, the start to the day has been bearish. We saw this sharp decline of around more than 100 points. Half a percentage point decline has been seen in last half an hour itself. So that's quite a bearish start to the day. And if we consider the medium term charting, that is also looking increasingly bearish with the possibility of further break toward these 32,600. Strong possibility is developing on that side. So for today's session, the outlook is now clearly bearish, but right now, before we can go for a new trade, we will have to allow the price stabilization to happen around these lower levels. And if we see the price continuing to hold these lower levels and not really start to rise again, in that scenario we can indeed go for the initiation of a new short sell trade in these US equity indices. Now for these three equity indices, we have to see which one is trading the most bearish and which one is looking bullish. So for the S&P 500, the developments are looking less bearish in comparison to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow has made these new swing low, the day's low, after the start of the US session, whereas for the S&P 500, its immediate swing low is still above this prior swing low. So that is something which is going to differentiate and make a difference while making a trading decision whether to short the Dow or the S&P 500. For the Nasdaq, the price formation is similar to the S&P 500, so it is also a better bet for the scenario where we see these equities holding ground on the lower side. If this level 12,000 holds for the Nasdaq for next hour or two, we can think about going for a long trade. As of now, things are looking bearish. So for that, we have the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is looking like a solid choice in the scenario of this bearishness persisting for next half an hour or 1 hour. And if it is not going to persist, and if we see fresh move, fresh buying and impetus on the upside with the climb towards 32,900 or thereabout, then I think we have these S&P 500 and Nasdaq, which are looking much better placed in comparison to the Dow for a long trade. So keep an eye on these two equity indices and see how price action unfolds in next hour or two. And if these levels hold with this move on the upside again, we can indeed look for the buy trades in the Nasdaq or even for that matter the S&P 500. But for short selling, the price outlook is much better in Dow Jones Industrial Average. So that is going to be a obvious choice or a first choice if we have to consider this all the three equity indices in today's trading session. So that's all from my side for today's trading session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me in the feedback and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. So thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous day ahead. See you next time around. Till then, goodbye.